But let's jump into the first story. Now, we did cover this story before, but we didn't have an opportunity to actually sit down with Justin. Are you the founder of Fenix Ammo?
Yeah, so there are basically three owners of the company. Myself, my brother Kyle, he's the vice president, production manager. He runs the shop, takes care of all the real work. And then our father, Norm Nazaroff, he's also an owner as well. Kind of more of a passive role, but
right on. So this story is actually just from, I think, about a week ago now. Reason has it, this gun shop says it won't do business with Biden voters. Now, I guess you guys aren't a gun shop; you're an ammunition company,
right?
So the article says tech companies should have the same freedom to choose their customers. Now, this article in particular is funny because it's trying to poke fun at conservatives complaining about big tech and censorship and regulation, while pointing out that people are laughing about the fact that Fenix Ammunition has banned Biden voters. When you go to phenixammo.com, the first thing you'll see, and you can try it, don't leave the podcast, just open a new tab and try it, is it actually asks you, a big thing pops up and it says, did you vote for Joe Biden?
Yep.
So, okay, tell me what's going on. Why'd you do it?
So it actually started as a bit of a joke. So back when the ammunition market started to get real crazy, that was at the beginning of the pandemic, people were kind of panicking and ordering as much as they could. We put a checkbox in our checkout page that says, we just want to let you know it might be 2 to 4 weeks before you receive your order. Just wanted to make sure that our customers knew what was going on. So fast forward to post-election, I saw an article that there was a gun store in Missouri, I believe, that was saying that they weren't going to service Joe Biden voters, and I thought it was funny. And I like to do some trolling. I mean, we enjoy spicy memes, and we've gotten a lot of play out of the Epstein meme, so to speak. We have it on our packing slips, and so I said, well, I'm going to add an additional term and condition to the checkbox that says, I agree, I didn't vote for Joe Biden, just to see if anybody notices. And I'm sure some of our customers will see it and laugh. So it's been up there since the beginning of January, and really nobody noticed. We had a couple of customers who saw it and commented on it and laughed. So we did a big sale 2 weeks ago, and I had a woman called, and she said, I'm on your website and I want to order this ammunition, but I'm confused. It's asking me to check this box that says I didn't vote for Joe Biden. And I said, well, what can I help you with? And she said, well, I did vote for Joe Biden. And no. I said, well, to be honest with you, we'd rather not take your money. And she just kind of said, what? How, are you serious? I said, yeah. Did you know that Joe Biden wants to ban the online sale of ammunition? And have you actually read any of Joe Biden's gun control plan? And she said, oh, yeah, I mean, I've read it, but you really aren't going to take my money? I said, no, I don't need it. I appreciate the call. And so she hung up, and she actually called back about a half an hour later, and we ended up having about a 45-minute discussion over the plan and the politics, and she didn't change her mind. She definitely wasn't going to change my mind. It was a decent back and forth. We had a good time, I think. And so after that, I thought to myself, well, this is actually an opportunity to educate people more so than it is just laughing in their face. So then I added the page that asks basically a gateway on the website. So if you click no, you're allowed to proceed into the site.
It pops up saying,
yeah, exactly. So
did you vote for Joe Biden?
If you go to phenixammo.com, it will say, did you vote for Joe Biden? If you click no, it will allow you to proceed. If you click yes, the site redirects you to joebiden.com/gun safety, which is his gun control platform that he ran on. It's been up there for the entirety of his campaign. It's still up there. It was discussed in multiple Democratic debates, and I personally can't understand how anybody could have voted for him and not understood that that's what he wanted to do. But we wanted to make sure that if there are gun owners who voted for Joe Biden, not knowing what his plans are, then this is a good We've probably redirected more people to his site than he has through his own advertising.
Right. Well, because when he was on debates, he's like, text Joe Biden at
3-0.
3-3-0. And everyone was like, wait, what? It actually says on his website, and I've known this, end the online sale of firearms and ammunitions.
Right.
Biden will enact legislation to prohibit all online sales of firearms, ammunition kits, and gun parts. That's gunbroker.com.
Correct.
What is it? Arms List?
Arms List, Bud's Guns, Arcade Gun. I mean, to be honest with you, it's such a silly thing to say because, especially with firearms, let me just state this for the record. It's been said a million times. You cannot buy a firearm on the internet and have it shipped to your home. That is not how this works. It's shipped to a gun store, and you go through the exact same process. To be honest, it's like ordering, if you were to buy a car and have it sent to a dealership, I mean, you still have to fill out the paperwork.
Do people
There's no way around that.
Do people not know that you get background checked every time you buy a weapon, unless you have a concealed carry?
Right.
So it's NICS.
In some states, a concealed carry permit will exempt you from getting a background check on every sale because you've already been federally background checked and fingerprinted as part of the concealed pistol license process. That's how it used to be in Michigan. That actually changed a few months ago. But yeah, every firearm that is sold on the internet, so to speak, a background check is conducted in every one of those instances. I
think the exemption for certain there's like certain historical guns you can get shipped directly to you. Like if you want to get like an old 1800s musket, you might be allowed to. I don't think anyone's worried about you getting like an old, what is it called?
Muzzle loader.
Muzzle loaded.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they're super worried about that. But if you want to get a 410, so I tweeted about this. I normally wouldn't tell people what I was buying, but I bought a break barrel 3-inch 410 shotgun. It's like for snakes and critters. Well, I shouldn't say critters because critters technically means domesticated animals, but varmints. Sure. And it's like you can't get it shipped to. It has to go to a licensed gun store. You go in, and I'm filling out the paperwork, and then you got to wait. And they don't like me. They don't like me when I buy weapons for some reason. So. I think they've slowly started figuring out because, I go to the store, I fill out the paperwork, but I was getting delayed quite a bit. But even for something like that, which is just, it holds one shell at a time. It is far from anything semi-automatic or whatever, or even bolt action. And it's going to, fire little pellets for getting snakes and badgers or whatever away from you. And you got to go through an arduous process for that.
Right.
These people, I guess they genuinely believe when Biden says this. You go online and you're like, I would like one fully automatic 50 BMGs, and then sent right to my house with 1,000 rounds, and people just walk around with these non-existent weapons.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi gets her crew-served automatics sent right to her house.
I'll be honest, I thought that they sent it right to your house until just now. I never learned that information for whatever reason.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is just if you haven't really gone through the process before, I mean, it's understandable that in today's age where you buy everything on the internet and it gets shipped right to your house, you order something from Amazon and it shows up tomorrow, it's reasonable for somebody who isn't part of that world to think that might be the case, but it's been discussed so many times. I mean, it's been this way forever, and so it's hard. Being in the industry myself, it's hard to understand why that trope myth is still out there. Well, but it's just one that can't die, unfortunately.
To go back specifically to your website, I don't understand how this lady could try and buy. Like, how do you vote for Joe Biden and then try and buy ammo online? That's the crazy thing to me. Like when you said you realize that if Joe Biden's policy is enacted, my business is gone and you can't buy ammo anyway, right? Did she not understand that?
Yeah, she said, well, if you can't sell ammo on the internet, then you'll have to just sell it to the gun stores and the big distributors, and that's where people will end up buying it. It was a really odd conversation, to be honest with you. It was difficult because we couldn't really seem. It was very hard to get to her core principles, right? Because she told me she bought a gun because she wanted to be able to defend her family. And I said, well, that's great. I applaud that. I think that's a great idea. I said, what kind of gun did you buy? She said, I have a Glock 19. And I said, well, hey, great. So do I. Did you know that Joe Biden wants to ban magazines with a capacity of more than 10 rounds? And a Glock 19 comes with a 15-round magazine from the factory. What do you think about that? And she said, well, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would turn in my 15-round magazines, and I don't think I need more than 10 rounds to defend my family. And I said, well, I would disagree with you on that premise, and we can discuss the specifics of that.
Did you ask her if she's ever gone to a range?
Yeah, I said, have you done any formal firearms training? And she claimed that she did, and she wouldn't tell me who.
She's lying.
Probably. But I said, did you know that? And this is a real statistic. Thank you, Trek at MDFI, for the information. But expert law enforcement officers in shooting encounters, what percentage of the rounds they fire do you think actually hit the target?
7.
If we go and look at the
7%.
10%.
7%. Is it 7%?
What do you think?
I think it's at like 7%. Yeah, I think it's super low.
It's 18%. So
okay.
it's still low, but for every 10 rounds fired, 1.8 of those, and that counts if I aimed at your chest and I hit you in the big toe, that counts as a hit, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, there's no data, there's no science, there's no research that says you only need 10 rounds. That's somehow that's a number that somebody pulled out of their head. And she just couldn't seem to I couldn't seem to get it into her that is a limitation that she's going to have to figure out. And she said, well, but Joe Biden's not taking away my right to own a gun. I can still own the gun. I just can't have more than 10 rounds. And I said, okay, well, what happens if he says you can only have 2 rounds, right? What about a single shot gun? Well, that's fine, because I'll still be able to carry a gun, so he's not infringing upon my rights. Like, okay, well,
yeah, you can carry the gun, but no bullets.
Yeah,
no bullets.
I can spend 2 hours on the phone with you if you want, and we can go back and forth. But it's just clear that we're never gonna. You don't get it, and I can't seem to get it into you any further than it is. Right?
Question: do we need an amendment that says you have the right to bear ammo?
Well, the problem with the Second Amendment is it's very general, and I think the founders intended that because they wanted it to cover more than just. People think that the founders were simple creatures, and I think that's just incredibly false. So if you look at the wording of the Second Amendment, it is very general and sort of non-specific, but I think that was the intent. They knew that times would change. Weapons would change, technology would advance. I mean, it's my belief the Second Amendment is really more about the ability for humans to use technology to defend themselves more than it is about firearms specifically.
What are your feelings, and I don't want to accelerate the conversation too much, we talk about this from time to time, but what are your feelings about people owning like larger caliber weapons and like heavy weapons and high explosive weapons and things like that?
Well, I don't have a problem with it at all. I think we have far too many gun laws on the books already. That's one of my biggest complaints with people on the conservative and the right end of the political spectrum. They seem to not be interested in rolling back things that are already in place. They claim that they want to prevent any more infringements, but they never really discuss getting anything back. So heavy weapons specifically, back in the 1700s and 1800s, people owned warships and cannons, and it wasn't a problem then. I don't see.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was less than a problem. Governments consigned them, asked them for help.
Sure.
Corsairs and privateers. You'd have the Crown of Great Britain being like, we need more private destroyers and frigates.
Yep.
Can we find any private citizens that have massive warships that could help us out? And they loved it. You know why? They would write, I forgot what it was called.
Letters of marque?
Letters of marque, that's exactly it. And what would happen is these private sails, corsairs and privateers, would go and basically get carte blanche to attack the Spaniards, the French, the Dutch. And then if they got caught, the Brits could be like, oh they're pirates. Oh, heavens, we're mad at them, same as you.
Right. The original Eric Prince and Blackwater, right?
Exactly. That was a point Ian made earlier.
Yeah. So
now they just call it Blackwater.
These old colonial warship owners are now corporate. They've formed corporations and have made like Blackwater and other arms.
But it was still not too dissimilar back then.
Right. Like back then there were no. Was that before corporations? Well, not really. Before
no, it was.
East India Trading Company.
Yeah,
these
before
companies,
the modern personhood corporation.
I think the first major modern corporation was like the Brooklyn Bridge Corporation. I think it was intended to form and then dissolve. but then it had to be maintained or something. I was reading about it.
Gross.
But I don't want to deviate the conversation too much. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about.
So about heavy weapons. I mean, back in the days of the founders, they had the same weapons as the military, and the founders understood that was necessary. It's impossible to mount a rebellion against a tyrannical government if the balance of power gets shifted too far. So if we look at today, you have people on the gun control side arguing that they want to ban AR-15 rifles, basic semi-automatic rifles that have been in existence since the mid-'60s. But our government and our military have drones and Hellfire missiles and MRAPs and shoulder-fired rockets. So, we need to. The balance of power is already so grossly out of whack.
I don't necessarily agree, though. I understand what you're saying, that the government's weapons are monstrously disproportionate to the average person. But this is something that we see the left bring up quite a bit. You'll never stop the U.S. government from being tyrannical because they have, drones and cruise missiles and things like that. And then I just say Vietnam, Afghanistan.
Well, I agree 100%. I think, accuracy by volume, I guess you would say.
You can't occupy city streets with drones.
Correct. I agree. I think I'll clarify. What I mean is, it shouldn't. The balance of power should be much tighter. So if the government has drones and MRAPs and missiles, why can't we have a machine gun? Well, we can't have a machine gun because of prohibition. That's basically where that all started.
I'm going to end up being the guy that's like, well, what about this weapon? What about this weapon? What about drones? Drone bombers? Do you think that private citizens should have access to drone explosives?
What do you mean?
Like have a radio-controlled drone bomber that you could fly over someone's house and drop a bomb on it?
And you have that.
Me?
Any private citizen could just easily do that.
Like a Hellfire missile?
Not a Hellfire missile, but you can buy a drone from Best Buy and do crazy things with it.
Like level a building?
Yeah. Depending on the building.
Not legally.
I actually consulted on this. I was doing a consultation for universities. University was a coalition with the government. And they were talking about potential problems with drones. And I said, what are you going to do when... I'm not going to name the companies because they'll probably get mad at me for saying their name. But we know these consumer-grade drones. What do you do when you're in New York and you see one of them zip over your head down Fifth Avenue armed with explosives? You can't stop it. It's there. It's in the city. It's armed. The bomb is on it. There's nothing you can do. Oh, sure, you can knock it out of the sky, detonate it where it is, but you can't commandeer it and send it somewhere else, encrypted controls. It's already here.
But we're not legally allowed to own them at the moment.
Sure. I don't know what a private citizen would need that for necessarily, but I suppose if the Second Amendment is referencing explosive devices, then
I guess there's at what point does a weapon become offensive as opposed to defensive?
Well, I guess it's
all offensive.
Yeah, everything is offensive. My answer to that would be murder is illegal, and so if I, as the operator of that weapon system, decide that I can live with the ramifications. I had this argument with, I think it was the assistant lieutenant governor of Michigan. I was at an anti-gun rally trying to be a troll, more or less. And I said to him, he was talking about banning AR-15s. And I said, I have one of those in my bedroom. That's what I would use to defend my home. Why do you think that that's not something I should be able to do? And I said, let's take that a step further. If there's a murderer in my kitchen and I happen to have a grenade and I decide that I want to throw this grenade at him, and I'm willing to live with the fact that I'm going to have to remodel my entire kitchen, and I know that it's not going to damage my neighbor's house, does it really make a difference if he dies by a grenade, or if he dies by an AR-15, or if he dies because I take out a kitchen knife and I stab him to death in my kitchen because he's there to kill me or my family? Like, what difference does it make to you? Can you tell me what moral or ethical principle you think makes the difference between those scenarios? And he didn't really have an answer. Oh, that's ridiculous. That would never happen. Yeah, probably, but it doesn't get at the core of the question, which is how can a politician decide how best for me to defend my life in a situation where it's necessary for me to do so. You know, if I kill somebody with a gun and I shouldn't have killed that person, I'm going to jail. If I kill somebody with a Hellfire missile and that person didn't deserve to die, then I'm going to jail.
No, probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, when the U.S. when
true.
Obama signed off all
Obama
those
didn't go to jail. That's
yeah,
true.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not
Totally
going-
legal.
Yeah, right.
No problem.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.